What's a secret that you think would shock everyone if it came out? I don't actually know what I am doing at work. I have no qualifications or previous work experience in the field. I just wing it every day and seem to get results. Edit, because so many of you are asking what my job is, I will tell you. I'm currently the operations manager at the biggest sawmill in the area. The only job I had before this was washing dishes at a care home. I didn't lie on my resume. I guess they just liked me. How many well-respected people are sexual predators? The best boss I ever worked for ended up being a pedophile. He was arrested leaving for work one morning, charged with possession of child abuse material and a few other things. It was a big police operation where they arrested multiple people, made the news and everything. If you met him, you'd never guess it. He was such a good guy until we found out he wasn't. I'll never forget the pure awkwardness and shock of the company-wide meeting when the owner had to explain the situation of why he didn't come into work that morning. I went to high school, and the yearbook photographer was also my trig teacher. I was a junior, I believe. He was a gruff dude and acted like he didn't care about any of us. But I sent him an email one day telling him that the way he'd hit the board's table with his ruler every day scared me because of the sound. And even though he never acknowledged or replied to my email, he never did it again. He was like the school's collective cool dad, and kids would call him by his first name, and the school loved him. At one point, I had bleeding issues, nosebleed. And he was concerned because I'd suddenly run out of class holding my face and had been in the bathroom right across from his room for a while. So he called the nurse to come check on me. A couple years after I graduated, he was arrested on school grounds at the end of a school day. Heard through some of my younger band friends I didn't really keep up with, but small town drama is small town drama. Turns out that bathroom where I had that nosebleed, he'd hidden cameras in it, in the stalls. I don't know what happened to him, but I can only assume he went to jail. I wish I could say that was the only pedophile at that school, but he wasn't even the worst one. Just the one none of us clocked ahead of time. Edit, I cannot believe I have to say this, but CP apologists can get the hell out of here. Just because he never physically hurt anyone does not mean this was okay, or not bad somehow. I likely have pictures of my genitals on the internet somewhere because of this man. My friends likely have pictures of their genitals on the internet somewhere because of this man. Child pornography has victims. Possession of child pornography creates demand and perpetuates child abuse. Kindly f off with that, oh he's not all bad, and oh it's different if they didn't create it themselves shit. It's child abuse. Period. I never turned in my 4th grade writing assignment. I just stuffed it in my desk incomplete and ignored it. The teacher never said anything. I'm 38 and I think about that way too much. I once convinced a teacher she lost my book report that was due in the final week of the school year. She gave me a B+ on it, which kept my A in the class, and we all moved on. I was a good student, she liked me, she knew I was working on the report, and when she told me I hadn't turned it in, she trusted me when I said I had. The next day, she told me she found it and had graded it. At the end of the summer, when I was getting ready for the next school year, I found the report in the back of my binder. I had done it, and I probably would have gotten the grade she gave me, but I somehow misplaced it and thought I had turned it in. I was so torn on what to do. I felt like I should tell her, but I also felt like she'd get in way more trouble than I would for just making up that she found it. I kept my mouth shut and never told anyone. I'm 34 and I also think about this all the damn time. The sexual desires of the people around you, all the random guys that like feed or want to be dominated, all the women that regularly watch CNC content on Pornhub, all the straight married dudes that watch gay porn, all the straight women who fantasize about their stepdad. Everyone is weird, that no one is in control. This is so true, yet very few people realize it. Everyone in power is kinda just winging it, acting in their own self-interest, dealing with each issue as it comes. There's no big plan, no master framework, just a bunch of people like you and I, getting on with their lives, possibly a little concerned they may get found out at some point. And no one knows how it all works. Only that it does, so long as each group does what it's meant to be doing. And if you've ever worked in government or military or other public body, you realize how ridiculous the notion of grand conspiracy theories are, and the chance that anything like that could ever be kept secret for 5 minutes is laughable at best. Edit. A lot of replies keep shouting Epstein and so on, but have missed a key word. I said grand conspiracies. Of course, conspiracies have genuinely happened before, but grand conspiracies like lizard people, flat earth, Illuminati, blah blah blah. The level of mental gymnastics you have to reach to believe these is astounding, as many others have said. Before doing that oh-so-human thing of spotting patterns in the noise and screaming conspiracy, consider incompetence and human error before clasping at wild conclusions, as those are far more likely causes in the huge majority of cases. The amount of people hiding an addiction, whatever that is to them. Drugs, alcohol, food, gambling, porn, sex, watching, following sports. Even healthy things like exercise, meditation, or whatever. I am beginning to believe that our reward system in our brains have been so hijacked by modern day that we don't even realize it, and we feel lesser or powerless over time as we dwell on our specific thing. I work in healthcare, and the amount of people I know who abuse drugs and alcohol is shocking. Our work can be very depressing, and so people use substances as a way to cope with it. Just a few weeks ago, I watched a 16-year-old die in our ED. It hit us all pretty hard, especially those of us with kids. The first thing I did when I got off work was chug a bottle of wine. Others went for weed or other drugs to help them fall asleep that morning. Drug and especially alcohol addiction and abuse is rampant in healthcare workers. We spend our days, our nights at work telling our patients why their smoking and drinking is killing them. And then we go home and do it to ourselves. I used to work in politics as an assistant, and between ourselves, we talk. We talk about who sexually assaulted us and when and how. We'll never come out with the SHT because these are very dangerous people to out by the nature of the field. But there's a lot of politicians out there who should count their blessings that we're scared. I've heard names whispered in confidence that would destroy people if spoken out loud. The Mormon Church is a front to a $100 billion hedge fund specialized in real estate. They use fear tactics to force their cult members to donate 10% of their income and then funnel that ecclesiastical donation through shell companies in order to grow that fund. They've recently been fined by the SEC $5 million for this. Edit, f***ed up the number, increased. Actuals above $100 billion are pure speculation due to the lack of transparency. During World War II, the Soviets trained dogs to run under enemy tanks with explosives strapped to their backs. After the war, Soviets have claimed to have eliminated over 300 German tanks using this method, but there's no way to confirm that score. It's, however, unknown how many Russian tanks blew up as a result of the anti-tank dogs, not knowing the difference between a German or Russian tank. The Russians trained the dogs by feeding them under the tank. But why should the dog run over the field for the German tanks when the fleeing tanks were close by? A rather short-lived anti-tank program for some reason. After 4 years of quitting smoking and promising everyone close to me that I'll never turn to it again, I've been back at it for more than a year. Edit. I didn't expect this to kinda low-key blow up, so thank you so much for your replies, relatable stories, and advices. I am almost 40. But I still suffer from the mental damage the aftermath of my parents' divorce did to me when I was 15. My parents think I have my life under control, and after such a long time, it would be a massive shock to them how much I still suffer sometimes. They didn't care much for me right after the divorce, but at some point, I feel the statute of limitations of that has ran out, so it would be weird if I ever brought it up or let it show. They also had their own set of mental problems, alcoholism, suicidal, that they were finally able to overcome. So I am scared it would throw them back into a dark place if they ever noticed how I am feeling. The amount of coworkers my female coworker banged while married with a child. Her husband knew about one of them and still tried to mend the relationship because he loves her so much. She had an emotional affair in the past. So he thought she was again banging around. And again, they mended the relationship. I know of at least 6 guys she had sex with numerous times, not including me. She told me that they broke up, but the divorce isn't officially yet. And many times that happened within the office, conference rooms, basement parking lot, etc., etc. I mean, this woman would blow a guy in the parking lot, swallow his cum, and then pick up her daughter from nursery, drive her home to her husband. They'd have lunch as a family, and then she'd come back to the office and fuck another guy before she leaves in the afternoon. If her husband knew all that happened, I honestly fear about both his and her life. Wow, a lot of people are commenting. I'd like to share a story. It's actually from one of my siblings who was in high school at the time. There was a school called 19, shortened to 19. One day, a student in a chemistry class accidentally drank a chemical from a glass, mistaking it for water. Tragically, she died alone, with her mouth filled up with white fumes. What makes this even more disturbing is that no one knew she had died in the classroom, only the teachers and staff were aware. My sibling's mom used to work there and told her about it. I've heard that the school paid a large sum to the girl's parents to keep quiet about the incident, though that's just a guess. I'm sorry if the story doesn't make complete sense or if some details are missing. English isn't my first language, and I tried to explain it simply and anonymously. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. It's not even a secret, but it's deliberately ignored and hushed by basically everyone all the time. 1 in every 3 to 4 girls and 1 in every 5 to 7 boys is sexually assaulted before they turn 18, and the vast majority of cases are perpetrated by family members. Siblings, cousins, uncles, aunts, parents. It's 5 girls and 3 boys from every classroom of 30. We are happy to talk about abuses of clergy, of coaches, of teachers, to work ourselves up into justified rage over Epstein and Maxwell, but we all collectively ignore 95% of the problem, and more often than not, keep the perpetrators in our own families safe. America has an incest problem. Intentionally or not, children are protecting adults, many for their entire lives. Millions of Americans, of both sexes, choke down food at family dinners, year after year, while seated at the same table as the people who violated them. Mothers and other family members are often complicit, grown-ups playing pretend because they're more invested in the preservation of the family, and often the family's finances, than the psychological, emotional, and physical well-being of the abused. I had a friend whose boyfriend's dad kept hitting on her and asking her if she would send him nudes and she would get compensated really well. We were in high school, 15 years old. My friend has never been the type to back down to any confrontation. So she texted his entire family saying she wanted to talk to them about an event coming up and if they could have a meeting. During the meeting, she brought all her receipts about what the dad was doing, and everyone, included the boyfriend, were like, "Aw man, dad, not again." And the sister said he used to abuse her growing up. They all knew the whole time. The mom, the boyfriend. They said that's just how he is and got mad at her for making it such a thing and said she wasn't allowed over anymore. We were all flabbergasted when she told us what happened. When 15. You think telling an adult will help rather than a grown woman defending her pedo husband. Made me realize really young that this type of thing is happening more than we think. After my hemorrhagic stroke, I was moved into a nursing home for 4 years. For 3 of those years, I faked incontinence. My stroke did not cause incontinence, but when I first got to the nursing home, I was bedbound, and pushing my light to use the bathroom took hours. So instead of asking for help to get to the bathroom, I was asking to get changed. Once I was no longer bedbound, I still found it difficult to get help transferring to the toilet in time, so I decided to just stop stressing over it and just pee in the incontinence briefs the facility provided, since their priority was to change residents instead of helping them with toileting. But by Christmas 2022, I was feeling pretty guilty about my circumstances, and the shame was eating me up. So I started looking up ways for people to regain control over their bladder after a stroke, and mentioned to the CNAs that I was working on my Kegels to strengthen my pelvic floor muscles, and would try to get help transferring to the bathroom. I started out on weekends, claiming that it was easier if I mostly stayed in my room, saying that during the week, with meals in the dining room and activities during the week, it was sometimes difficult to get back to my room in time. Again, I was lying, but still trying to play a part. So after regularly using the bathroom on the weekend, I was still feeling pretty shameful about the waste I was contributing to, and I started thinking, what if my mom showed up during the week for a care plan or something, and finds out that I had been lying this entire time, and called me out to the CNAs, who would then probably be pretty pissed about my pretending. So one Monday last May, I had a new CNA and decided that enough was enough, and that I needed to just do what I needed to do and use the bathroom regularly, like I should have been doing all along. It was May 1st. I had a new CNA and no time like the present to change. And then 1 week turned into 2, then a month, and several months, and I started to feel free from the guilt, and regularly transferring to the bathroom made me feel more confident about transferring. And one day when I really needed to pee, and my CNA was busy with another resident, I felt like I could stand up, balance myself enough to pull down my britches and get myself on the toilet. So I did that, and then just pulled my bathroom call light to get help pulling up my britches and transfer back to my wheelchair, and been doing it ever since. I moved out of the nursing home last month and moved into a little wheelchair-accessible house that is staffed with direct support staff. I was a little nervous about figuring out how to transfer in my new bathroom, but thankfully transferring my C to my bathroom in the nursing home for a year gave me the confidence and strength to figure it out myself without help. Except, I still need help pulling up my britches. I'm sure that there were some people who probably guessed that I wasn't really incontinent, but they never said anything to me. I don't think I'll ever tell my mom the truth. She would probably smack me and be distant and give me the silent treatment, but honestly, she was a bit unrealistic about the quality of care I was to be receiving in the nursing home. She thought I should have been getting help right away, even though I kept telling her, these CNAs have 16+ residents in their care each day, and they have a lot of responsibilities, and they weren't going to be able to get to me in a timely manner. The beginning, it could take 3+ hours just to get me up out of bed for the day or for me to get changed. Edited, Kegels, not Keegan's LL. I'm pretty sure that Bill and Hillary Clinton have been open poly since they started dating, and it was easier for people to handle infidelity than the president and first lady openly boinking. It'd be nice to have confirmation, but I don't think it'd be as crazy to hear now versus then. I think that was part of what House of Cards was trying to tell us. I remember reading a comment from either Kevin Spacey or Robin Wright at one point that the portrayal of their characters was a lot closer to Bill and Hillary than people might realize. It was obviously played up for dramatic effect, but the whole open marriage part seems completely believable to me. Over the past 8 months, wife and I have made multiple police reports about some kid online our son decided was a creep and cut contact. After this, he blasted not only our son's social media, but ours too, about him swatting us or our kid. Went so far as this kid calling in threats to the school or non-reports for us to dispel them and file more reports. 2 weeks ago, police raided our house 24 deep and snatched our kid on some serious shit. Been almost 3 weeks, and state refuses to turn over discovery, saying they are still investigating, but they have eliminated anything in previous reports as a possibility. Back the blue until it happens to you. He wouldn't let me leave. I begged, I cried, I tried to offer concessions, I tried to make him hate me. I withdrew completely. I did everything I could think of to be able to get out safely. He was lying to everyone else, and I didn't know it because I started staying home constantly just to have distance. He's a monster, and they're all buying the bullshit. He destroyed my life, and they all helped him. If this is true, then find a shelter. Call 911 for domestic abuse or something. Get out. Get a plan together. Do not write it. There are charities for this. I am not in the US, but someone here or in a subreddit should be able to point you in the right direction. Please be safe, but get out. I get all my work done in about 6 hours per week, and within a max of 3 days at the office. A day consists of being there to handle things that can only be done there, like physical in place requirements, and then I leave when the mission time ends. I spend the rest of the time doing things for my money-making side hobbies, or catching up on movies, reading, home renovation projects, etc. I'm authorized to 2 home office days per week. They're always Thursday and Friday. As long as I'm seeing emails and tasks that come in and jump on them like a good worker should, nobody cares. I've had 4-day weekends for years, on salary with full benefits, and work 100% alone, physically. If I had no integrity, I could milk it for more since my nearest coworker is literally 1,200 miles away. But I know how good I have it, so I don't abuse any of it. Nobody else in my program has anything close to this setup, but we were all given the opportunity to negotiate certain aspects of our contracts. I guess the others just chose not to. I figured it doesn't hurt to ask, and I got what I wanted with minimal effort. Basically, I said, you can pay me to be there 40 hours unhappy, or allow me to come and go as a trusted adult and see how well I produce and how happy I stay. Yes, my boss asked me to not share my office arrangement with anyone else in the program. My annual salary works out under this arrangement to roughly 104 hours. I haven't had any real work stress in over 9 years, and the company that pays us absolutely loves what I do and throws me kudos via bonuses quite often. I know how lucky I am to be in this situation. If it came out in the program, the others would be shocked for sure. Then jealous, than pissed. Thank you for watching. Write comments, put likes. Do not forget to watch other videos.